We all know that owning a small business means you wear many hats, but sometimes you really need an extra pair of hands. Upwork is how good companies find great and trusted freelance talent. With more than 2 decades of experience, with the simple and ambitious goal of pioneering a better way of working, companies at every stage turn to Upwork to get things done and find more flexibility in staffing key projects and initiatives. They access a global marketplace filled with top talent in IT, web dev, marketing, and more. Posting a job on Upwork is easy. With no cost to join, you can register, browse freelancer profiles, and get help drafting a job post or even book a consultation. From there, you connect with freelancers that get you and can easily hire them and take your business to the next level. Visit Upwork.com right now and post your job for free. That's Upwork.com to post your job for free and connect with top talent ready to help your business grow. That's UPWORK.com, Upwork.com.
You are about to listen to the Dr. Daliah Show. Sassy, stimulating medical talk radio. Any medical advice Dr. Daliah Wax gives on her show should not be substituted for an actual visit to your medical provider. And now, here's Dr. Daliah.
We're back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877 Dr. Daliah, 1-877-DOC-DALI. So some of you were kind of grumpy because your doctor is now a new doctor to you, and you're asking for medications, and they say I can't write them because they interact with your other medications. It could be dangerous. And you're like, what are you talking about? I've been on this medicine regimen for years. Or you call a telemedicine company saying, I need Zofran, I'm nauseated, or I want diflucan for a yeast infection, or I want Zithromax, and you're being told we can't write it and interacts with your medications. And you're like, say what? What am I taking? So what I want to give you guys is a website that I like to use. It's really easy to use. It's called drugs.com. No, you won't get your cannabis on it. Drugs.com allows you to just type in, it's an drug interaction checker. And you could type in your drug, you could type in up to 3, all right, and see how they interact with each other. If you're on multiple, you might have to sign in, and I think there's like a sign-in option. I don't think you have to pay. I think it's free. But at least the regular website you get access to, it's drugs.com, drugs.com. And you could put in your medications and you could see, 1, if they interact, and 2, what the interaction is, and also if there's an issue with food. A lot of you cannot drink grapefruit juice or other foods without it affecting your Coumadin and warfarin and like spinach and things like that. And so it allows you to take a look very superficially. It's not a really, it's not to the degree that a pharmacist will be able to provide you, with all that information. But it does very quickly tell you if there's an issue with the medications you're on. So one thing that's frustrating people is they used to take medications and then now their doctors say they can't do it anymore. So there was a combination that I thought worked really, really well for people where they would take Wellbutrin and then also sertraline. And so the Wellbutrin would help them with their depression. The sertraline might help them with their anxiety, and the combination worked well. But will those drugs interact? There's a major drug interaction with those drugs. Now, a lot of people still take them because they tolerate them, etc. But if you're new to the medication and you ask a doctor that's never met you, I want you to give me both or add something to what I'm on, there might be some hesitancy because there's some major drug interactions. For those of you that are calling up asking for Zofran, I'm nauseated, I'm throwing up, I need Zofran. If you're taking an SSRI like sertraline or Lexapro or Paxil or Prozac, they can't write it. It can interact. Now, this is on telemedicine. If you are in the ER or the urgent care and you are, violently throwing up, they're going to do what they have to, whether it's Compazine, Phenergan, Zofran to help calm down the nausea. If the benefits outweigh the risks, they're going to do it. But many of you are calling telemedicine for medications and you're like, what's going on here? And so the software will even tell us there's an interaction for those doctors that don't have these interactions memorized. And also sometimes there's a new interaction like, oh, really? Abnormal heart rhythm with the Zithromax. Okay, well, then we need to, be cautious in certain populations with that. Paxlovid. Paxlovid is an antiviral medication for COVID. Now there are 3 dosings. Right? There had to be 2 dosings, one for healthy kidneys, one for kidney function that was not at a certain EGFR or creatinine clearance and glomerular filtration rate. Now there's even a 3rd dosing, so they can help individuals fight COVID even if they have weak kidneys. So sometimes we do get newer information, but Paxlovid, the antiviral, interacts with a slew of medications, your antidepressants, your anti-anxiety medications, your blood pressure medications. Diflucan. Diflucan is an anti-yeast, an antifungal. A lot of women will call up saying, I have a yeast infection, give me Diflucan. Well, if you're taking SSRIs or antidepressants, not supposed to mix the two. So they're going to probably suggest a topical unless your gynecologist can say, look, you have yeast. I know you're comfortable with these medications. I'll write it. So, another biggie that I learned in medical school is you are not supposed to be on ACE inhibitors like lisinopril, benazepril, etc., and then take high-dose anti-inflammatories. You could bottom out the kidney. It affects the efferent arteriole and the afferent arteriole such that blood flow to the glomerulus that ends up, helping filter out, nutrients in the kidney and substances in the kidney. If you're taking anti-inflammatories at the same time you're taking ACE inhibitors for your blood pressure, that could hurt your kidney. And you could get acute kidney injuries. I've been telling you guys about that for years. Yet we have people call up, they have high blood pressure, they're on these medications, and they go, I want my 800 milligrams of ibuprofen. We can't do that. We're not supposed to be doing that. So drugs.com, I think, is going to help you. Grapefruit juice, you got to be careful because the cytochrome P450 system, the cytochrome P450 enzymes help metabolize a lot of drugs. If you have something that interferes with that, then your medication levels can rise. So when people say, well, what are some of these drug interactions? Am I going to die? Well, it depends. Some medications will cause an irregular heart rhythm. Some might cause something like serotonin syndrome, where you get a whole exaggerated effect of multitude of symptoms because the medication is now at a higher dose than it was supposed to be. Birth control and antibiotics. Now, I remember, doctors said, if I'm giving you an antibiotic, you need to use condoms. Well, you should be using condoms anyway. They go, but your birth control might not be effective if you're taking an antibiotic. If you eat, when a medication needs to be taken on an empty stomach. Now, I know some of you are probably looking at your list now going, oh my gosh, they all interact. So your doctor and your pharmacist or your medical provider can work with you. Some of these medications you shouldn't be taking at the same time. Nobody should be taking their muscle relaxant, their pain pill, their SSRI, their Xanax. You take that all at the same time, they interact. That is not a good combination. But for some people, they might be able to take their blood pressure medicine at one time a day, their anti-inflammatory at another time a day. I don't really like that. I'd rather come up with a safer regimen just in case, you forget to take the medicine and have to take it. But go to drugs.com, look at your medications, and if there are interactions, talk to your medical provider about them. Because if your medical provider is not reconciling your medication list, they might not know that you're on something that can interact or cause an adverse effect. Look at me teach you something. 1-877-DOC-DOLLY. Don't go away.
This is an urgent announcement for anyone that's $10,000 or more in debt. Before you make another minimum payment, you need to know there are special programs that can completely free you of your debt. Total Financial Freedom can help you become debt-free in months instead of years. Resolve your credit card debt, signature loans, department store cards, internet loans, and timeshares. Call Total Financial Freedom now at 800-878-6020 for a free consultation. For 16 years, Total Financial Freedom has helped thousands get out of debt. You can feel confident when calling because Total Financial Freedom is A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau. Battling for years and years stuck in the endless cycle of minimum payments could take decades. You have the right to get your debt resolved and substantially reduce your monthly payments. Call Total Financial Freedom now at 800-878-6020. That's 800-878-6020. 800-878-6020.
Let's face it, guys. We're living in times where the truth is becoming more suppressed and censorship is increasing at an alarming rate, especially on social media platforms. It's Clyde, and I want to tell you about a safe and secure digital playground we put together just for you. It's Aftermath.media. You get access to thousands of Ground Zero archives and podcasts, along with our private social media groups with your basic membership starting at only $7 a month. Each subscription includes tech support, access to the RSS feeds, along with our own chat room and Telegram channel. In addition, the premium membership includes research study groups, webinars, a document and movie library, a live video stream of Ground Zero, a monthly Zoom chat with me, and other bonus content. Be sure to check out our yearly specials as well. Sign up today while you're thinking about it. Sign up at Aftermath.media. Again, that's Aftermath.media.
Back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-DOC-DALI, 1-877-DOC-DALI. Big thanks to Talk Media Network for making the show happen. Big thanks to Daniel, our producer, and big thanks to y'all for tuning in. We really do appreciate it. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter or X at Dr. Daliah, Facebook, The Dr. Daliah Show, and on YouTube. Click like and subscribe. So some of you have questions about what you saw. Some of you have seen bits and pieces of the video of the manifesto of Robin Westman, who had undergone the shooting, or who had carried out the shooting where he killed 2 children, injured at least 19 others while they were at 8:15 Mass on Wednesday during their first week of school. And one of you had asked why some of the phrases were written in Russian. The Cyrillic alphabet, I'm not really an expert on, but it looks like he did write part of his manifesto in Cyrillic, which is, an old century Slavic origin, that I guess many, I don't want to necessarily stereotype, but many individuals who I guess like that sort of gosh, I don't want to call them, trying to find the right word for it, but it's cryptic, but there's groups that understand it and know the Cyrillic alphabet. And some of the phrases he had used was, included Russian phrases like, I am a terrorist, hatred, kill yourself. And they were written, he did use Russian with this. I can't necessarily tell the difference between, the Cyrillic alphabet and Russian words. I don't speak that. But it was, I guess, something that he and the connections he might have made online would be. This person I don't think was a loner by any means. I think he was connected to people online. Maybe they didn't know he was going to do the shooting, but there's individuals that are very into the Cyrillic alphabet, and maybe it's because of certain games they play, or and he was showing off. He displayed a list of his favorite bands. He was singing along. He was showing off in this video. And I want to know to whom was his audience? Who did he want to impress? So New York Post is sharing some more information from his manifesto. And, he fantasizes about being that scary, quote, scary, horrible monster standing over those powerless kids. And apparently, was talking about admiring the Sandy Hook massacre. He changed his name from Robert to Robin in Dakota County, Minnesota when he was 17. He identified as a female and wanted her name now to reflect that identification, according to the petition. But we're being told by New York Post that he seemed to have backed away from that identity. So when you hear he, this is why I haven't necessarily called her she, because apparently Robin went back to identifying as male. He wrote, I don't want to dress girly all the time, but I guess sometimes I really like it. I know I am not a woman, but I definitely don't feel like a man. He says, I really like my outfit. I look pretty smart and modest. I think I want to wear something like this for my shooting. And you see him go through his closet. He has some black shirts and he's talking about wearing black, and he's actually designing what he wants to wear, and he's showing off the wardrobe that he's choosing in this video. He also goes into a great deal about why he was targeting Annunciation Catholic Church. He graduated there from grade school in 2017. He was 23 years old, and his mom, Mary Grace Westman, worked as a secretary at the school and then retired in 2021. And this is what he wrote on one of the pages. He said, I am feeling good about Annunciation. It seems like a good combo. This is disgusting, this guy. He goes, it seems like a good combo of easy attack form and devastating tragedy, and I want to do more research. He says, I have concerns about finding a large enough group. He says, I want to avoid any parents, but pre and post school drop off. This guy's sick. He goes, maybe, quote, I could attack an event on the on-site church. He said, I think attacking a large group of kids coming in from recess is my best plan. He writes, then from there, I could go inside and kill, going for as long as I can. Near the end of the video, you see he flips through his pages, and I posted this picture of him with the pews and the floor plan of the church and where the congregation would be sitting and holding mass, and then he takes a knife and stabs it. And then he says, kill myself. And this guy was sick, whether he heard voices, whether he just, was possessed, whether he feels, So I guess the video was titled So Long and Thanks for All the Fish. So possibly a religious reference. And then there's these ramblings. He goes, I've had thoughts about mass murder for a long time. I am very conflicted with writing this journal. He says, I need to get my thoughts out without getting on a watch list, and then laughs. So he also has a lot of right politics, anti-Semitism. He had Jew gas there, this little gas cartridge. He, obviously anti-religion, whether he was far left or whatever. One thing that stood out that people are seeing is this trans pride flag sticker with Defend Equality printed across the bottom with a black AK-47 sticker laid on top. So I know some people said, are there really stickers with guns and pride flags? No. The pride flag sticker was his own sticker, and then he put, the AK-47 on top of that for Defend Equality. And then he goes, if I carry out a racially motivated attack, it would most likely be against filthy Zionist Jews. He, added Free Palestine and called them entitled. He says, I hate fascism. He said, I also love when kids get shot. He says, I love to see kids get torn apart. This person was sick. How he was walking around society, how he was integrating with others, how a parent didn't pick up on this. He goes, he's tired of the news headlines. He says, they only talk about brown people dying and I don't care about them. He says, I like to hear when Israelis get killed, but they don't like to report on that stuff. I mean, who was he listening to? Who was he following? Where was he getting these ideas? I'm just blown away. And then I think he was talking about targeting Elon Musk or Trump, and we have individuals who are sick and disgusting. And he also had medical issues. He said, I think I might have some prostate problems. I have to piss so frequently and I'm sick of it. Even if I can heal, I just want to die and kill many people. He expressed sincere admiration for Sandy Hook killer Adam Lanza. He writes, I have a deep fascination with one man in particular, Adam Lanza. He was the 20-year-old that caused the worst school shooting in U.S. history, leaving 20 first-grade students and 6 adults dead. He says, Sandy Hook was my favorite. He says, quote, I think exposure of school shootings. So I'm not, when he writes on his guns for the children, obviously this person was very, very sick. And how nobody could pick up on it is concerning. So when we see something like this, and obviously there's a lot of discussion on him being transgender, the media talking about the transgender component should not be about hate or discrimination, but it should be about, if he was truly transgender, who was his psychologist? Who was his therapist? If somebody's transgender, they need support for life because they're obviously living in a body that they don't want. So if he was getting the proper support, maybe they would have picked up on this. I mean, instead, it's all about cosmetic and, okay, well, we'll give you hormones. We'll do this. Where's the psychological aspect? What? I'm really confused that somebody like this could have slipped through all of our fingers. And here he is posting a video showing he spent weeks, if not months, maybe years planning this, acquiring the weaponry, writing the manifesto, translating it into Cyrillic and Russian terminology and vocabulary. And, is it that we have so much hate? Is it that we have so much, anti-right propaganda out there, anti-left propaganda? Is it, what? But, we need to do a hell of a better job making sure individuals who need to are getting proper therapy and always screening for this type of stuff. 1-877-DOC-DOLLY, don't go away.
At Hot Shot Secret, we share the science behind common diesel problems and their solutions. For example,
diesel fuel cetane levels.
in many states, the cetane rating in diesel fuel is 42 to 45. Most diesel engines operate more efficiently with a cetane rating of 48 to 50. One treatment of Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme will raise your cetane 7 points, increase fuel economy, and improve cold starts. Due to a cleaner burn, there are less hydrocarbons and particulate matter in your exhaust. This reduces the blockage of your diesel particulate filter. Using Diesel Extreme generates 83% less DPF regeneration. The 6-in-1 Diesel Extreme formula also includes the most concentrated detergent on the market, lubricity enhancer, water demulsifier, rust and corrosion inhibitors, and a fuel stabilizer.
Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme is available nationwide at truck stops, fine farm and auto stores, and online at hotshotsecret.com. Hot Shot Secret, powered by science.
We are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-DOC-DOLLY, 1-877-DOCDALI. So people are still talking about the Indian immigrant truck driver who was accused of killing 3 people when he took an illegal U-turn in Florida, was licensed in California, was finding sanctuary in California for his migrant status, gets hired to drive a truck, ends up making an illegal U-turn, killing 3 people in the process, allegedly. And we come to find out in the following days that Harjinder Singh did not have English fluency and failed, his driving test and his CDL test. He answered just 2 of the 12 questions correctly when being tested for English language proficiency by the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration after this crash had happened April 12th. And when asked to read highway signs and their meanings, he could only identify 1 out of 4 signs shown to him. We believe he entered the U.S. illegally 2018, had been granted a commercial driver's license in both California and Washington state. So Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy said the crash was a preventable tragedy directly caused by reckless decisions and compounded by despicable failures. Non-enforcement and radical immigration policies have turned this trucking industry into a lawless frontier resulting in unqualified foreign drivers improperly acquiring licenses to operate 40-ton vehicles. So making an illegal U-turn, or trying to, and then the trailer part of the truck obviously not moving at a speed that people on the highway are driving, 60, 70 miles per hour. He blocked a 4-lane highway. Minivan did not have a chance to brake or turn, hurled at full speed into the trailer, and all 3 people in the van were killed. And, you didn't really seem to see the drivers look that shocked. But, the concern I have, as a physician, who does do CDL, driver's licenses, etc., is, being a daughter of an immigrant, my father couldn't become an American citizen until he learned the language, had English proficiency, and he learned it. And English is not an easy language to learn. He learned it. He studied for the test, and he took his citizenship test in English and passed. Now, that was in the 1960s, before he then married my mom and then had me. And so when people look at that sort of requirement, that had to have been done back then, they say, oh, that's impossible. We don't have time for people to learn the language. Well, the time is what is so necessary. The time allows you to acclimate. We do things differently in America than we do in other countries. And so for you to become a citizen, it does take time for you to learn, the culture, learn how we do things. You don't necessarily have to give up who you are. We love that you're Irish, that you're Israeli, that you're Jordanian, that you're French, that you're Mexican. Okay, we don't want you to give up any of that. But if you are going to be coming to America and you're going to be driving near kids, and there's going to be school zones and buses, in Mexico, you turn left in the right-hand lane. We're driving around, I think it was Puerto Vallarta, and the left turn lane is the right lane. So you go all the way to the right, then the traffic light stops the basic traffic, and then you pass over all those other lanes as you turn left. All right, well, you need to know that in America, that's a little different. Don't go to the right lane to turn left. We go to the right lane to turn right, we don't drive on the left side of the road like they do in England. And some people say, yeah, well, that's obvious. Well, it's not obvious, because if Mr. Singh here didn't learn the language and he's operating a vehicle, making it easy for immigrants to come here legally, I support, but not requiring that assimilation, that learning of, how things are done here, not working with them to learn the language is a problem. Now, I speak Spanish, but, I was with the kids. We were in a hotel, and a maid, I told you about this. The kids were really young, and one of the maids or housekeepers starts running over to us yelling in Spanish. Now, I didn't understand everything, but I got the gist that what she was saying, that the elevator was broken, the doors somehow were open, and the kids could fall through. I was so grateful to her for doing that. I mean, she has a job to do, but she is there trying to protect and tell everybody that somebody could fall down the elevator shaft. I was really grateful. I told her we'll take the stairs. But she wanted to warn somebody in her country, in her city, of some danger. And she couldn't speak the language. And somebody, speaking English couldn't learn it either. And my little kid, he was, I think, maybe 5 or 6 at the time. And he looks up at me and he goes, Mom, thank God you speak Mexican. And I go, well, it's called Spanish. But you're going to have to learn too. Because if you're going to want to understand what people are saying around you, you're going to have to learn another language. And so I wish all of us could be multilingual. I think it helps our brain function. It helps stave off dementia. Some studies have shown, and it helps you better relate to people of other cultures and countries. But we are living in parts of this the country where English is a rarity. When I was training in California, I would speak Spanish all day, and it was about 4:30. I walk into the next hospital bed to check on a patient. I just start talking in Spanish, and he goes, "Excuse me, I'm American," and I go, "I'm sorry about that. Sorry about that. I was speaking Spanish all day. How are you? Can I, and he looked at me shocked that I would just expect he spoke Spanish, but it's because all I did was speak Spanish all day. And again, I love the language, and I loved being able to speak Spanish, and I have family members who are Latino, and so it's a gift that I'm grateful to have, even though I'm not still as fluent as I want to be. But if we did the process where there was that time and those classes, because again, my father was able to take the classes, take the citizenship classes, take the English classes, and then he learned a trade. He learned how to fix appliances. So he did that, and that was a class in English. And he had a Hebrew English dictionary, and he learned the words, and and during all that time, he was able to learn all the, different aspects of what he needed to know to be in Los Angeles and Southern California and to be in America. But when we rush the process, say, you know what, fine, you cross the border, there'll be a court date, you're on your own. We're missing out on that. I think there was an issue with the school bus, and it was because of an illegal immigrant didn't understand the rules with school buses. When you see a school bus that has a stop sign, even if you're on the other side of the road, you need to stop. Now, I know this because I took driver's ed as a sophomore or junior. How are people passing these tests? The other thing I'm noticing is this half-assed sort of attitude teachers are having, well, let's just pass them. If I see that happen in medical school, oh, hell no. And we need to know that everybody passing medical school knows what the hell they're doing. Nobody gets an easy pass because you need to have competency. And if you're going to be driving a 40-ton truck, you have to show competency. The problem we had is after COVID, we had such a dearth of truck drivers that I think these companies were so desperate to get truck drivers that they'll take anybody. So we have to do a hell of a better job than we're doing. 1-877 Doc Daliah.
Carl Amari here to tell you about our newest website for old-time radio lovers. It's 100radioshows.com. At this site, there are 5 old-time radio shows waiting for you to download free as our gift to you, and be sure to browse the additional 700 old-time radio shows available to you for 70% off by using the promo code RADIO at checkout. This is a limited-time offer, so log on to 100radioshows.com. That's 100radioshows.com.
Have you ever thought you'd like to buy and sell houses but didn't know how or where to get the money? My name is Ron LeGrand, and over the past 40 years, I've bought over 3,000 houses without using my money or credit and taught thousands to do the same. Today, even in a virtual environment, we buy nice houses in nice neighborhoods using no banks, realtors, contractors, or other costly entanglements, and build huge cash flow and wealth without the hassle of tenants, all without credit and little or no money. You don't need a license or experience, and I'll show you exactly how it's done. Text FREE to 99799, and I'll send you my free training. I promise you I'll change the way you think about real estate and open the door to a new lifestyle that doesn't involve risk or rehabs and can quickly replace your current income. Text FREE to 99799, and let me show you how to take your life back and build cash flow and wealth from your home. That's FREE to 99799. Again, FREE to 99799.
Hey guys, it's Dr. Daliah. Fantasy football season is coming, but sadly, too many of you are taking the bench while the country takes part in one of the most exciting and lucrative industries out there. Don't know how to play? Well, huddle up and listen. Paul Kalikas and I have written a fantasy football pocket guide for beginners. This book walks you through the basics and shows you how simple and lucrative joining or creating a fantasy football team can be. Read our fantasy football pocket guide for beginners found on Amazon or follow the links on X and Facebook. That's fantasy football pocket guides for beginners. Don't be left out. We are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-Dr. Dali, 1-877-DOCDALI. So I am a Gen X. So I was, baby boomers were born roughly between 45 and 65. Although I think anybody born during World War II, I would count as a baby boomer. Because most of my, baby boomer friends and family say, nope, we're baby boomers, even though we were born in 1942 and 1944. Fine by me. You can be whatever you want. You're baby boomers. You deserve it. And then Gen X's were born between 1965 and 1980. Millennials were born between 1980 and 1995. Gen Z's were born between 1995 and 2000. 1995 and 2010. Generation Alpha was born between 2010 and 2025. And right now we are having the births of the Generation Beta until they come up with a better name. And so we're hearing, throughout, the weeks and months and on media that our Gen Zs are really delaying in their milestones. Now, this delayed milestone terminology is something we use in pediatrics, where if they don't talk at the age they're supposed to, or they don't crawl, or they don't, sit tripod style. There's milestones we have. So there are benchmarks that we assume, young adults, kids, individuals are going to meet. And when they don't, we say there are delayed milestones. So an analysis conducted by Pew Research Center earlier this year showed that today's young adults are reaching their life milestones later than previous generations. The analysis looked at U.S. based young adults aged 21 and 25 back in 2021 and compared them to those who were in the 1980s. And they looked at having a full-time job, financial independence, living independently, getting married, and having a child. Both age demographics were behind their predecessors in all categories, with 25-year-olds beginning to start closing the gap. So college, being in college could obviously change, the dynamics of you having a full-time job, maybe getting married and, having kids. Yeah, people are in college, and now that a bachelor's degree doesn't really get you much, people have to go for masters or PhDs, or, on top of that, you'll go for trade certification, et cetera. So there's definitely, some explanation for that. But, when I was growing up, I was you just have to. Don't ask why. You got to get married. If you want to have a kid, you got to be married. You can't have kids out of marriage. You have to do your religion. You have to, show up. You have to, follow the Bible. You just have to do these things. And it was just, I'm in medical school and I'm 25 and I'm starting to get all nervous that I'm not married yet. Well, luckily I got married by the age of 26. I had my first baby at 28, my second baby at 30. And I was already getting kind of old and starting to have, complications with pregnancy. So I had to stop after 2 kids. And people had asked me, did I have any regrets? And I'm like, well, I probably should have started my family sooner, but I couldn't because I was in medical school. Well, starting my family sooner than giving birth at the age of 28, there are individuals that don't even move out of their family's house by that time now. So society is different. And, the older generations are pretty concerned because we need somebody to take care of us later. And so if people are not moving out of their parents' house, if they're not becoming financially independent, how are they going to pay taxes? If they're living at home with their parents, how are they getting married? How are they having kids? If they're not starting their family, until they're deep into their 30s, then are they going to have only one child? Which is their choice. They have every right to even not have kids. But the birth rate is going to fall. It isn't falling as drastically as we would expect because we still have a higher population. So number for number, we're still having millions of births per year. But the average person is not. I mean, my mom had 4 kids. I had 2. And I had 2 because I started later. And we didn't think it was going to be safer, especially since we had some complications, medical complications, with having enough fluid and, failure to thrive and things like that within the pregnancy. I was like, I'm going to count my blessings. I'm happy with what I was able to do. I'm going to stop here. Well, if advanced maternal age is linked to issues with the pregnancy and, infant mortality, et cetera, there was always this push, have babies when you're younger and healthier. But if people are putting it off, which is their prerogative, or deciding not to, or waiting until they're deep into their 30s to get married or start having kids, it's definitely going to affect the whole dynamics of, how do we how do we pay for taxes? How do we deal with all the needs of our older population? How it has always worked is the younger population will take it on. That's how Social Security works. That's how Medicare works. There's more younger people. They have more access to money. The money that they put in will be plentiful. And here we are, I'm Gen X, being told that by the time I'm going to need Social Security, it might not be there. So looking back and seeing that if the average Gen Z does not, by the time they're 25, live independently, get married, having a child, financially independent, having a full-time job, yeah, it starts to make you nervous. Now, if you asked me, I have a 25-year-old son, who he and his girlfriend are talking about marriage, et cetera. I would think he is too young right now to have a baby. If he was able to purchase a house, I would be like, wow, really? But I was able to purchase my house, and I was making $32,000 a year as a family medicine resident. We were able to buy a house in Las Vegas, Nevada for $125,000. We had student loans and everything. I moonlighted, and I worked in Lake Havasu ER and Bullhead City urgent cares, and I moonlighted and did what I could to help make the down payment. But I was making, I think, maybe $35,000 a year. I forget what my residency. It wasn't a lot. It wasn't, a lot of money at all. But it was enough for me to pull some money together. I think we got a new home owner's loan, and we were able to get into a house. Young people can't do that now. They cannot get into a house for under $200,000 or even $300,000 on average, unless, of course, they go very, very rural. And you have to live where the job is. And so I do worry. What if these kids can't get their own home? I know a lot of, it's interesting. I was at, my son's girlfriend's house the other day, and across the street, there's a house with 10 cars in the driveway. I don't know how they fit all 10 cars on the driveway, but they fit it. And my son was like, wow, they own a lot of vehicles. They probably don't get rid of their old vehicles. And I go, I don't think that's it. I think there's multiple families living in that house, which a lot of families are now doing. Where they're like, why have the separate rent? We'll have the babysitting. We'll share the cooking duties. We'll do our own thing. We're at work. I don't know if I could live in that crowded type of a house, but I think people are starting to look at different ways to be creative with it. But, getting your kids independent is also going to take society having jobs for them. If people aren't hiring, what are they supposed to do? Now, for me, I always waited tables. My go-to was I'm going to wait tables, and it's good money. I like it. I know a lot of people don't like waiting tables. I love it, because it's exercise. It's joking around with people. It's working for tips, but there's even those jobs are going to start being far and few between. So we'll keep you posted. 1-877-DOC-DALIAH. Don't go away.
believe with all the recent violent protests, looting, and destruction, some areas are considering either defunding or abolishing the police? At a time when America's neighborhoods need the protection of police the most, some elected officials would rather create more chaos by playing politics. If you're sick of elected officials caving in to demands of the radical left, you're not alone. It's time we stand up and declare our support for local police. The majority of police officers are important partners in protecting our God-given rights. If you prefer freedom over chaos, then learn how you can help protect the local police that serve your community. Call today and request your free Support Your Local Police info packet. Dial 800-JBS-USA-1. That's 800-JBS-USA-1. Request your free Support Your Local Police info packet by calling 800-JBS-USA-1 today.